Yeah. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes. It is Friday night. Happy Friday out there. Or, we be hitting all these other countries and stuff like that. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, Feliz Viernes, you know what I'm saying, out there. You are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports Disordered. He's Mr. Logical. I'm 2-5. We're talking NFC West. You're liking, reviewing, subscribe, sharing, doing all those free things, doing all those good things. And if you're a real one, you got a liquid death in your hand. You know what I'm saying? We are everywhere that you get your podcasts. Make sure you check out Say Less, Say More. Mr. Logical, let's jump right in. The NFC West, the home of the Super Bowl champions. The Seattle Seahawks. Not only the home of the Super Bowl champions, the home of the team that pushed Seattle to their limit in the NFC Championship game. And all that team did was go get Myles Garrett, basically go get Kansas City secondary, because their secondary wasn't up to par. True, but indeed. Mr. Logical, as we look at the NFC West, these 3 teams, Seattle, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, combined to go 38-13 last year. The first division in NFL history to ever have 3 12-win teams. Are we going to see something similar this year?
No. I think the injury bug for San Francisco bites them again. It's already kind of biting them into season. And it's just, they have older players too. Like, they're relying on guys like Mike Evans. I think McCaffrey is still, we understand like his availability is hit or miss sometimes. So, yeah, I wouldn't say 3 12-win teams. I would say very competitive in division games, aside for the games that they play at or away against Arizona. But I think the top 3 teams will compete. I think even a team that's in third place will say week 10, 11, they'll be able to shock whatever teams in first place. If around that time, so I don't think it'd be like a foregone conclusion, like who the winner is going to be.
Oh, hey, Mr. Logical, Mike has a message for you.
In this division.
That's just for
Kyler
you.
Murray's gone.
So look, this division, I think, well, first of all, do you think that the 49ers coaches walk out, they don't see something, they're not executing, right? And then they go, guys, we're going to have to go 2-a-days like Diddy used to make them go walk for cheesecake, and then they just go, no way, you know what I'm saying? But so the Seahawks in particular are an interesting team because, they lost the Super Bowl MVP. They lost Kobe Bryant. They lost Reek Woolen to the Eagles. So there's room for regression there. And I know we had a conversation about Sam Darnold the other night and his stature in the league. So he still has his weapons. JSN, Opoy, Cooper Kupp. I hope to see more Torrey Horton this year. Torrey Horton, I'm sorry. And, so hopefully we get to see some. I know, right? Get him in the Hall of Fame. Whereas the Cardinals, you might not know it because the NFL typically doesn't have tanking. But if you watch the Cardinals this year, you might think that you're watching a team tank. Now they went out and
I think you're gonna watch a team that looks like they are overmatched. I think you're gonna see a team that's like,
Well,
we cannot compete at this level this year.
they gave Jacoby Brissett a 1-year, fully guaranteed $15.5 million contract. He had a career year last year, but you said something to me right before we came on about the Cardinals and their future.
All right. We've gone through now. This is the fourth conference, so that puts us up to 16 of the 32 teams. The Cardinals looking very Arch Manning like, but if I'm running the Cardinals, I'm getting a haul from anyone 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, depending on who 3 and 4 are. Like if we go through. If the Raiders are 3 or 4, I'm willing to go to 5. If the Falcons are in that mix, like I said, the bottom just falls out. I'm not sure if they're jumping for a quarterback again with the quarterbacks on the roster. They could. It would make sense, but I think it might be a situation. What's going on, Rez? I think you might be able to float. Like you said, you got Miami. They signed their guy to a couple years of deal. I don't know. So if I'm Arizona and somebody's trying to get from 5 to 1, I'm taking all their draft capital and giving it up and rebuilding the team inside out.
Well, the other thing about Arizona is they need to figure out what they're going to do in the backfield. James Conner stays hurt a lot. They went out and drafted Jeremiah Love. They already had Trey Benson, who's out with an injury right now, and he might be a cut candidate just based on timing and the fact that they brought in Tyler Algier from the Atlanta Falcons. So Tyler Algier, I think, came there with the idea that he was going to be the starter, or at least get more, like a half share at least of the carries, because they didn't have Jeremiah Love yet. But when you have a guy like that on the board, I guess you got to take him. So when you're Tyler Algier, are you a little frustrated now? Are you a potential trade candidate at the midseason because you're going to flip out? Or is it just time for them to say, cut Benson now and then try to get what they can for Connor later?
See, I'm not sure if they're the type of team that kind of has that foresight, because you knew what your running back situation was before April, May came around when you had the draft. Like you knew what your position was in the draft. You knew you were in a position to get Love from Notre Dame. So it's like, why even waste acquisition time and space and contract negotiations when rookie running backs historically have been able to be more plug and play than probably any position outside of offensive line, because offensive line, I think you can you maul or can you not? And I think with offensive line, are you physically capable of just battling this guy in the line? So I think rookie offensive linemen are plug and play, and rookie running backs are probably if you had to go 1-2, people can make an argument maybe for linebacker, but as far as rookie running backs, whatever he was doing in college, if you can get those same opportunities, get him in space, get him some good blocking up front, they're gonna make a guy miss in the secondary and bust big runs if they're one.
And they gotta play him right, because they gave him the biggest contract for a running back in the league at one point. I think somebody else got a contract later, but at the moment that he signed his contract, he got more than Saquon Barkley, for example. Versus Tyler Algier's on a 2-year, 12.2-ish contract, so it's a little more movable. It's a little more sustainable if I have to tell you to go sit down, unless Jeremiah Love's just being ineffective.
Shout out to Tyler Algier. He was a bruiser in Atlanta for a long time. If I'm his agent, unless he just wanted to be somewhere warm, I'm not understanding you're a power back. You don't fumble. You don't cause any problems. I think any team in the league, I would have gone anywhere else for 2 years, $10 million before I went to Arizona for 2 years, 12. 2 years, 18. All right, I'll go to this team that's probably going to go 2 and 15 next year But I'm like, he probably could have gone. He probably could have gone to the Chiefs for 2 years, 11, even 2 years,
right.
9. At least you're winning.
All right, well, let's get into it. So, do you happen to know, off the top of your head, where the Super Bowl is this year?
I believe it's in Arizona. Seems like that'd be.
It's in SoFi.
Again?
And the last time it was in SoFi, there's a team in this division that won the Super Bowl on their home field.
We talked about that. Shout out to the people who hollered at me on TikTok. Yeah, but without that phantom holding call, it's 4th and 7 from the 9-yard line, and Matthew Stafford might not have a ring. But we'll just forget all that.
There's another one on YouTube. Just left you a comment too. But 2 years in a row, if you're the Rams, right, you're right at the brink. You've lost to the Super Bowl champion in the playoffs the last 2 years. You had Philly on the ropes in the snow, couldn't get it done. You went to Seattle. Sam Darnold, 346 yards because you couldn't stop anything. So now, like I said, they went and got Jalen Watson. And my guy should have been Super Bowl MVP, Trent McDuffie, to shore up the secondary. Now, they went and got Myles Garrett. There's rumors on the street that somebody named Aaron Donald might be coming back. If that happens, then I don't even know. All hell's going to break loose. But, they gave up. They gave up Jared Verse to get him, my guy from Florida State. I think he has a bright future ahead of him. But when you got a chance to get a guy like Myles Garrett, especially with Matt Stafford just turning 38, with that back in the condition that it's in, you got to try to take every bite at the apple that you can get. So I understand that. So,
I get it because it's Myles Garrett, but I don't know if I would have made that deal. I know it sounds like everyone's like, wow. I don't know if I would have made that deal.
Well, I think that the Rams have enough that you can make that move. They still have Braden Fisk. They still have Kobe Turner. Nathan Landman came in and played decently at the linebacker as long as he didn't have to cover anybody. So from that standpoint, the Rams have the requisite parts prior to Myles Garrett. And I think Myles Garrett just puts you over.
I think if Myles Garrett was in play, and I think Cleveland probably would have done it for your 2028 first, your 2029 first, and like maybe a couple of linebackers, and you could have kept both of them potentially. I think Cleveland would have been like, oh, they're going to give us 3 first-round picks? We'll do it. I just think like you probably could have kept Verse. I think that because how many more years you getting out of Garrett? You're definitely not going to get 6. I think you get a 6 out of Verse.
But I think if you're the Rams, you don't care about all that.
You don't care about 6 F them picks, yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, Stafford is 38. He's got a bad back. So at most, you're hoping maybe you could get 2 more years out of Stafford. So then on the flip side of that, you had Puka Nacua, just catching everything, 129 catches, Devontae Adams with 14 touchdowns. But then people said, well, hey, if you could get another receiver, a guy to cover that slot, and give another weapon because you got good running backs in Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. So if you can get that slot guy, then your offense puts the infinity stones together. I would still argue that the Rams need more tight end help. But they went and drafted Ty Simpson, which you and I had a spirited debate about because the thought was, well, hey, at that point on the board, and I wrote this down, Mekhi Lemon was still out there. Casey Concepcion was still out there. Omar Cooper from Indiana was still out there. Any of those dudes probably would have filled that role that people were thinking that the Rams needed.
I want a guy in the top 15 that's playing 5 months after I draft him.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. I like Todd Simpson, but that's absolutely fair.
That's playing 17 months. 17, in this case, 17. If you think Stafford gives you 2 more years, I'm drafting a guy April 2027 that I hope doesn't start until
Green Wave.
Until September 2028. Doesn't make any sense. And it was a favorite job. It was collusion.
So I guess you're hoping that Kanata Mumfield, Jordan Whittington, or CJ Daniels can step in, But that's where the tight ends come in because the Rams run a lot of 13 personnel. So that's where I would like the threat of somebody that can catch the ball, from that position. And that opens up a whole different element to your offense. Now granted, no one has shown that they can stop Puka yet. So, maybe I'm overreacting with that thought. But I just think that
those tight ends are going to be wide open. Those are going to be wide open backside with a nickel corner who's looking inside to help on Devontae Adams or Puka. And these dudes are going to be running wide open, deep out routes. And Stafford's going to throw it from one hash to the other hash. And dudes going to be staying there waiting on the ball every single game.
And Stafford won the MVP, by the way. So let me ask you a question. I already know the answer, but let's just play it out. So we talked about Jared Goff the other day. Was Sean McVay right about him? Was Sean McVay right about Stafford?
Listen, I think people kind of got my argument kind of misconstrued. Like I felt as if it was like a bad move. I don't think it was a bad move. I just felt that in the Stafford Super Bowl, a couple of plays went their way that didn't go their way in the New England Rams Super Bowl. Everyone wants to use the finality of, Super Bowl, that's it. That's the end all be all of all discussions. But we can look at it like, okay, well, yeah, you got to that Super Bowl. The ball bounced your way. It's an oblong-shaped ball that's going to bounce certain ways. Certain calls are going to get missed, whatever the case may be. Certain plays are going to happen. But the totality of it was they both went to a Super Bowl each, and one guy got the plays from the defensive line to win, and the other guys had to play against Tom Brady, and Julian Edelman caught 13 passes to be MVP. It just happens that way. I don't think either piece was because of Goff or Stafford. Stafford does give you a different dynamic because of the way he plays. I think aesthetically it looks better, but the end result is Stafford's numbers or Goff's numbers are comparable to Stafford. A couple thousand more yards, 11 or 12 more touchdowns.
So
uninjured, available. So it was like it wasn't as if the Lions got a dud. It's just that the Lions have a problem with the coach going for it on fourth down way too often when they were in that little situation.
So give me that. Give me in the people that Mike Tomlin quote again.
I run the coaching.
So if Sean McVay is that guy, he'd have won a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. I put it like that. You know what I mean? Like it's been enough time now that Jared Goff has been gone that if Sean McVay is the coach that we're being told that he is, they would have found a way to still win a Super Bowl. I'll put it like that. And I'll let it rest there. But Byron Young.
Hear you on TikTok.
Byron Young, 12 sacks. He led the team. Kobe Turner had 7. Braden Fisk with 3. So, Jared Verse had 7.5. So when you think about that upgrade to Myles Garrett, he just broke the record in sacks for the season. They still got Poona Ford. So it's another one of those situations, kind of. Is Myles Garrett better than Jared Verse? Absolutely. But I don't think that necessarily is what puts the Rams over the top because it's not as if you brought in Myles Garrett by himself. You know what I mean? You still made the other moves as well. Just like, when they went in the year they won the Super Bowl, you had Odell Beckham. They went and got Von Miller. They had Jalen Ramsey. So it wasn't, it wasn't just insert piece. Oh my God, they're the Super Bowl champions now. You know what I mean? And I think that's the part that people end up a little short-sighted on. Omar
Aaron coming back, if Aaron's coming back, it's after he takes his kids trick-or-treating.
Ooh, upset alert. We got one. Uh-oh. I see you one, Mike.
Yeah, but that's a lot of a hope. There's a lot of hope involved in that. Week 1, everybody available. You got to go with, the team that probably has better
Well, to be fair,
players
though.
available.
Well, to be fair, remember that Thursday night game? Mac Jones, the 49ers win that game if they just hold on to the football at the goal line. You know what I mean? So
Blake Corum fumbled 2 times.
Hey, It is what it is, bro. But so as much as I love, Trent McDuffie, I do have questions. Yeah, Puka might be hurt, but Bosa's hurt. We don't know if Kittle's going to be there week 1. Like, there's a lot going on in that substation. but
Brandon
but
Ayuk not there. And I'm saying, they need Ayuk in the building.
Oh, do they? I mean, they got Debo back, right? But these Kansas City players, and hopefully this applies to my team too, because we picked up Leo Chenal. But I want to see how these Kansas City players do outside of Kansas City. So even though I love a guy like Trent McDuffie, one of my favorite players in the league, I want to see that, because all I got in my head, and I know injuries were involved, but all I could think about is L'Jarius Sneed. How I thought he was one of the best corners in the league, and ever since he went to Tennessee, very nondescript.
He chased the money to a bad team. Like, listen, I'm wearing this hoodie. My son's high school football team, 2 of my sons played for the team. They had this scrimmage today. They pretty much dominated this other team. And what we were talking about in the stands as the dads, because we've been there for like 10 years. Like, these guys, they've been on teams together since 2015, 2016. And we talked about all the years that they played football. This year, we feel like the guys that they have are in the right position, and the guys they needed to step up, they had their growth spurts, and they're doing it. So we've had all the same kids. It's just you didn't have them in the right spot. Now, the system that they want to run, it works. We have the slippery wide receivers outside that can catch the screens. We have the speed back and the 2 big backs. And then we have the Debo Samuel kind of guy. So, like, it just takes a while to kind of get all these pieces together. With an NFL team, you're a piece of the system. But the reason Chenault probably gets through to make tackles is because you have to double team Chris Jones. So when you're trading assets to get a guy like McDuffie, like you say, you got that in Washington, it has to take into accountability that this guy was able to do this because he was behind a guy. Any linebacker behind Aaron Donald is getting a free shot in the gap, because he's getting double and triple teamed every play, just no matter what the team is. So
shout out to Alex Ogletree. You know what I'm saying? But so I expect teams that are playing the Rams, I expect a lot of screens, a lot of draw plays, a lot of slants, because you don't want to be in any more than 3rd and 3 against this team. So I expect a lot of trickeration, if you will. But I think that the Rams are good enough, obviously, to get to the Super Bowl. They made it to the AFC or the NFC Championship game last season and, lost a very close nail biter there. So they have to be the favorite in my mind to get to the Super Bowl, at the very least, win it at the most. But we'll see. We'll see. Seattle, the Super Bowl champions, clinched the NFC West, won it for the first time since 2020. They are breaking an NFL record. They're tying a record because they're playing 5 primetime games this year. And, before I go back, actually, I forgot one thing real quick. Yeah. With the Rams, I want to see how different their offense looks in certain ways, because even though he's not the offensive coordinator, they do have Cliff Kingsbury in the building. I forgot to bring that up. So I want to see what kind of different formations or different elements that he brings to the offense.
Sean gonna be like, hey, no. He's gonna hit the little button. He's gonna hear the play. Listen, we're gonna go pirate right -7Z over. Nah.
Oh, the wrong birds. What up, Jack? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you about the birds. These are the right birds that actually put it together and won the Super Bowl last year. So, JSN was my MVP last year. When we did our show, he was my MVP. I thought that
never gonna happen though.
It was never gonna happen, but that's just me. But shout out to the Seattle Seahawks. They lost Clint Kubiak. He's now the head coach of the Raiders, of course. But they bring in Brian Fleury from the 49ers staff, of all places. He was there for the last 6 years, but he's also a Maryland Terp / Towson Tiger. So shout out Baltimore in the house. He's going to take over as offensive coordinator, but it's his first time calling plays. And as we mentioned, Kenneth Walker is in Kansas City. So I don't know what that's going to look like. They drafted Jadarian Price at the end of the first round. So I think he's going to have a better season than Jeremiah Love, obviously, because of the team that he's on.
Yeah.
And Zach Charbonnet
He won't
got
face
hurt
an
in the wild
11-man
card.
box.
Yeah. He got hurt in the wild card. And so when I think about that, I think he's going to get a lot of snaps early. And I think that Zach is going to not be there probably until mid-season-ish. We'll have to see when their bye week is. And while we're thinking about that, before we go any further, what I'm saying? I forgot. Let's pull up the Rams schedule real quick and look at this.
Right.
So, of course, they opened that overseas game with San Francisco. Then, it starts out rough for the Rams. It starts out really, really rough. And,
I hate everything about the way that's set up. I hate the fact that it's not a regular game. I hate the fact that it's on Netflix. I hate the fact that it starts at 7:35. I think everything about this Thursday 9-10 game with a division opponent playing on Netflix is a problem with bureaucracy and capitalism, but it's neither here nor there.
All right, Van Lathan.
See it. Saying putting these degrees to work. I think that's a win for the Rams. San Francisco is gritty, but when it boils down to it this early in the season, sometimes it's just my horse is just stronger and faster than yours. There's some grit later when guys are playing with injury, or they put they put a run together late in the season. But coming out the gate, guys healthy, guys being protected at practice throughout the last couple of preseason games. I think you come in fresh, division opponent. The coaches probably have dueling egos. I just feel like this is the game where you're thankful.
Well, I'm interested in the 49ers defense for that game too. Robert Saleh obviously is the head coach at Tennessee now. So, is there going to be any slippage there? Are we going to see Kyle Shanahan anytime soon? Those kind of things I think matter as well. But that's just me. But anyway, the Rams could start 2-3 here. I mean, they got to go to Mile High and the Link back to back. They could lose both of those games very easily. I think they beat the Giants, of course. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that one. They get the extra rest on top of that as well.
I've seen a lot of social media posts. Granted, it's just practice. I've seen a lot of Jalen Hurts throwing the ball to other teams.
Yeah, I saw a lot of A.J. Brown dominating out there.
even the Eagles social media team put out a video of Jalen Hurts throwing a pick. On it, I was scrolling through their Facebook page. I was like, okay, this must be a dope slant. Nope, this is a pick. So the Eagles social media team put out a practice video of Jalen Hurts throwing a pick. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but he gets really conservative in games. So if it's not there, I can see him on a 3rd and 6. Just tucking, getting out of bounds. Now it's 4th and 3, and they're punting, trusting his defense because he doesn't do, like I said, we talked about, he doesn't do what Caleb Williams does. But I think that game against Philly, I think that could be it. I think I might have annotated that as a win. Let me double check I got it as a loss because they just got across country.
Well, the Rams just gotta get past Philly. Philly just has their number. The last 2 times they played, or three times, because you had the playoff game, that we brought up earlier. You had the Sunday night game 2 years ago where Saquon ran for 255, and then you had the game last year with the block kick. Philly just has their number. So it's one of those situations for me where I can't pick the Rams until otherwise. You know what I mean? That's the way I kind of look at that. On top of that, they get Buffalo at home the week after that, with a day of extra rest. Then they get their, 2 gimmies, Arizona and Vegas.
Their reprieve for starting the season off tough.
Yeah, then they get, the Chargers. I mean, basically, I was about to say, half and half stadium, but it's probably more like 95-5 Rams. Well, actually, I don't even know how many fans the Rams got. But you got Washington. You go to Arizona bye week. Coming out the bye week. See, coming out the bye week, and this is where the schedule looks tough. If you just look at the teams that they're playing, it looks tough, but I don't know how tough it actually is because, I think they can beat Green Bay at home. Kansas City, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I mean, by then, Mahomes should be back into form, but they lost a lot. You know what I mean? Kansas City's lost a lot, so we'll have to see what they look like. Go to San Francisco. At this point, I think if you're the Rams, you'd rather play at San Francisco because they take over your stadium anyway. Then you got Dallas, so that could be a tough matchup. At Seattle, obviously tough. But then you get Tampa, Seattle. So I think that the Rams at absolute worst, are looking at 10-7-ish. But I don't think it'll be that bad. I got them at 12-5.
I got 13-4 optimistically, but I'm kind of banking on a San Francisco sweep and just them winning their tough home games versus division opponents. So I got them full. I think I got them 1, 2, 3. I got them 5-1 in division with just a one loss being at Seattle. I think that's the piece. I think the rest of these teams.
So I got them splitting with San Francisco. I got them splitting with San Francisco. I got them splitting with Seattle. And then I got them losing that Philly game. So that's 3. So then you got the Mile High game, as another, potential loss, and then just a random loss. Like the Rams are just one of those teams, they lost to the Falcons last year. They're one of those teams that just kind of loses games that they shouldn't lose.
My random loss for them is Dallas. Because I got them on and that's the one thing. Like I said, I hate when I look at this after I just kind of look at it and go back and forth and I see 4, 5, 6 game win streaks in NFL. Just it's very uncommon. So between Buffalo and Dallas, between Buffalo and San Francisco, I got them winning all of those. So are they 2-3 and then start that run with the loss to Buffalo? But the Buffalo game's at home, so I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that Buffalo has to travel from Orchard Park all the way south.
That is interesting. That is interesting. We always make the big deal about, and maybe it's the time zone thing, but we make a big deal about the teams going east, but we don't necessarily talk about it as much going west, but maybe it's the time.
I guess because the game is just later, so I think your body, you remember when it snowed and you got that 2-hour delay for school? You just felt that extra 2 hours was rejuvenating. I think that's what it's kind of is when you go east to west. Is I could be getting up at noon, but I'm getting an extra bit of time to kind of sleep in and play. And you're playing so if you're playing a 4 o'clock, if you're playing a 1 o'clock game on the West Coast, it's basically 4 o'clock. That's the middle of your day. If you got to sleep in a couple extra hours, I think it kind of helps East Coast teams. But that's probably why it's not a conversation. Because if you're the Chargers or the Rams or San Francisco, Seattle, and you playing a game against the Jets, granted, it's the Jets, but your body thinks it's 10 a.m. Getting your body, your mind right to play a game at 1 p.m. on the East Coast when it thinks it's 10 a.m. is probably a little different than you being in the prime of your day at 4 p.m.
Yeah, hey, I like Brian and Mike. I love y'all having y'all own little show over there. I know I was about to say that, Rez. I love their little show going on over here. But like I was saying, Brian Fleury, the Seattle offensive coordinator, is he's a first-time play caller, so you just never know how that's going to go. Especially with some of the losses that we talked about. They brought in Dante Fowler on defense, picked up Emmanuel Wilson, so he's going to be their second running back from Green Bay until Zach Charbonnet gets back. He's a tough runner that I like a lot. Green Bay, I thought, should have kept him, especially with Josh Jacobs being up in the air right now. So that's just me. Brian Boye Mafe, they lost as well. But defense is still going to be what it is. Mike McDonald's the head coach. That's going to be the calling card for the Seattle Seahawks. That stadium is still going to be a tough place to go. So while I do expect some regression, and things coming back to the mean, if you will, I do expect that.
Right.
I don't think Seattle's just going to fall completely out of the playoff picture. I don't think they're going to fall off the face of the map. I think that they're too disciplined and structured. Now, the question is, if you're a guy like Sam Darnold, you got the Super Bowl monkey off your back, if you will. So does Sam Darnold come out more confident and better this year? Or is Sam Darnold just whatever Sam Darnold is?
I think we talk about I don't want to say being humble, because that's the wrong thing. And once again, I'll use like a personal anecdote that I've talked about my son. Like I said, my son's playing football since 2016 up until now, and it's been up and down. He was playing in a league that had a weight limit after COVID, and before then he was playing. He was playing great, but he was playing with a coach that was kind of playing a little bit of daddy ball. So like he had to battle through a lot. Like there was a lot of politics into getting his spot, and he just grinded for his spot. I've never been his coach, so he's always had to work to get his spot. And then when the COVID thing hit and he gained 40 or 50 pounds in a year and he hit a growth spurt, he couldn't play the position that he wanted. So he had to do that. So he had to learn that for a couple of years. Then as a freshman in high school, he didn't get to start on varsity. A couple of his friends did. He played everything else. He dressed for 21 games in a row. So he went through the grind. He finally got his start as a sophomore, hasn't looked back. So going through those ups and downs like Sam Darnold's probably gone through to get his Minnesota year to where people are like, oh, this dude is a good quarterback. He just was in a situation where he wasn't allowed to thrive the way he expected to. And then to come out and have a Seattle, because his numbers weren't crazy, 25 touchdowns, 14 picks. But to be able to have the playoff success, get rid of the stigma of I'm seeing ghosts, I think he'll go into this year I don't need to prove anything, because you doubted me holistically as a football player. So many people wrote him off. If we talk about Carolina, they completely wrote him off. So he's I had my couple of good years. One of those years ended with me winning a Super Bowl. So now I'm playing with house money. So I don't think he's going to do too much more. I don't think he's gotten the contracts that he's going to get. He's a $35 million, $40 million guy. I think he's good with that, because all the years where it was he's a buzz, he's no good. Now it's now he's on easy street.
Yeah, so to respond to your point, Mike, I think that with Mike McDonald being the head coach, I don't have any questions about defense, right? And this is just a 2-5 thing. I don't mind a defensive coach losing a couple of pieces, because that's his bread and butter. He'll scheme that. They'll find a way to put the players in successful positions. Now, if they were replacing a whole lot of offense and you got a defensive head coach, a guy that's never called plays before, then I would be a little concerned. But defense is always going to travel, right? So they might be down in a game, 10-3 late in the third quarter, and we're sitting around going, oh, Seattle's done for. All it takes is a pick. All it takes is a strip. All it takes is a sack. So from that standpoint, that's why I trust Seattle a little bit more than, say, San Francisco, who we'll get to in a second, just because, San Francisco's defense is still catching up. So from that standpoint, but I think
defensive teams are easy, because it's easy to teach a guy, listen, on this play, just get to the hash mark and watch anything that's coming across, and you get your finger on the ball.
Yeah,
I think was picked. Now we're going the other way. Versus,
I think it's easier to tell a dude,
this guy to this spot. Yeah,
I think it's easier to tell a dude, just be there, versus you got to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it. But also back on the defensive side of the ball, Josh Joby had a good year last year, so I think the other side of Devin Witherspoon will be great. I think they'll be fine. Nick Eamon, I think he is going to be a star here in a few years. I think he's going to be, and I'm trying not to be too hyperbolic, but I know it's going to sound crazy.
Cam Chancellor.
But no, I wasn't going to say that. I should say that. That's better than what I was going to say. I was going to say that I think of him as a Kyle Hamilton playing in a Buda Baker type role. You know what I mean? Like, I think that he's going to be up on that line from time to time. He's going to be in the nickel. He's going to be everywhere that you don't want him to be. And I think he's going to cause havoc, for the other team. Saying the thing about Seattle as well is that they're so good at tackling. That's a part of what makes their defense so great, not just the coverage part of it, but you can't get around them as well. So I don't know, Mike, if Witherspoon is a lockdown corner. I don't think he's that. Like, he's not Charles Woodson. He's not, as you would say, he's not Revis for the 1 or 2 years that he was Revis. But I think that he's a good enough player, and I think that he's one of the corners in the league that will pop you and knock you on your ass. And I think that might jar a couple of receivers, from coming his way. Now, and, but with that being said, I like the rookie Bud Clark out of TCU at safety as well. So I think he'll be able to fill in some gaps, not take over the defense. Obviously, he's a rookie, but I think that he'll be good enough that you won't even notice that Reek Woolen is gone. And then the last thing I'll say before I pass it back to Mr. Logical is, I don't even care about Diggs right now. I wasn't even going to bring him up. They're also trying to get, or if they haven't signed him yet, Terrion Arnold. You know what I'm saying? On some
I think they signed him, but they put him on the exemption list immediately.
Yeah, he's on the commander. Yeah, he's on the the commissioner exempt list. But the last thing I was going to say was the other part that helps me trust Seattle a little bit more is because last season they went and traded for Weber State legend Rashid Shaheed. And, he had some big punt returns. And I think he had an opening kickoff return against San Francisco in that playoff game. So I think Seattle has things that you can count on: defense and special teams. The offense will catch up eventually, but I think they're good enough to get the season started.
I think Seattle is in a rare position to where the Super Bowl winner, a lot like college football with Indiana's preseason rank is 6 with the expectation that they're going to fall off. Seattle, there's probably more people confident into picking the Rams to win the Super Bowl, let alone the division, over them. So I think that shout out to Skip Bayless in the proverbial catbird seat. So I think that's where Seattle, because sometimes you need to be able to play football. And that's something that comes with contract negotiations, coaching, make sure that the players match the scheme. When all of that kind of comes together, you just play football. There's no off the field stuff. So bringing in Terry Arnold and even bringing in Diggs, I don't know if that would be wise for the dynamic, considering you let Tariq Woolen go. So obviously you have a philosophy you want to instill. I would just go with the guys.
Yeah, and like I said, they still got Joby. So
that's more valuable than trying to fill these bodies and don't panic. If that guy's not getting in the training camp, but he understands where he should be, it'll come to him. When everyone's going at live speed and the fans are howling, I mean, hell, you shape the stadium so that it's so loud that the visiting team can't hear. It's designed that way. Let these things that are kind of built into and ingrained in your system, ingratiated to your system, play out. Because you're chilling. You already got the ring.
And to your point, Mike, they didn't. If that's the case, they didn't have a second receiver last year either. You know what I mean? But I think Shaheed is good enough. I think Kupp is good enough that you don't need them to be 1,000-yard receivers for Seattle's offense to be effective. Because
Sam Darnold has 4,018 yards passing and 25 touchdowns. They just need to be They need to keep
They just
the
need to be
defense
timely.
out of harm's way and let the defense get that timely strip sack at the 35-yard line to get them the ball back, get them in, keep them in scoring position. That's it. Some team, that's all you really need.
That's not what I said, Jack. That's not what I said. You know what I'm
Let me
saying?
see. What
I'm
do you
just
say?
saying,
Put it on the screen. I can see it.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He's good. He's good enough that
Yeah.
to get you a timely third down catch. You know what I'm saying? He's good enough to keep the chains moving.
There's 90 starting wide receivers in the NFL. Call it 96 maybe. He's one of them. He's one of 96 people in the world to do that job. Yeah, he's so nice. Yeah.
All right.
I think we kind of forget like how exclusive these guys are as athletes. Like he still was making big catches throughout the playoff run. He's healthy. Yeah, I think he's still nice.
Jake Bobo, you funny, Mike. All right, so looking at the schedule here, we get a Super Bowl rematch week 1. I expect it to go about the same. Then you get the Cardinals, Washington. So I got Seattle 3-1 headed into the San Francisco game. I think I'm not picking my team to beat them. I think they lose that game possibly to the Chargers, and then I think they host San Francisco at 3-1. After San Francisco, it's fun. You know, they get Denver. So, you know, that'll be fun. You know,
the
to your
Super
point,
Bowl
Mike.
matchup people thought we were going to get, yeah.
To your point, Mike, you know, PS2 lining up against JSN. Sign me up. No, I'm not picking my team, Jack. I'm not going to be that guy. Then they play Kansas City. It's at home. It ain't Arrowhead. Chalk it up as a win. You know, the Seattle game would be interesting. You know, Caleb Williams going into that stadium. That would be, you know, a big feather in his cap if the Bears can pull that off. Then they get their freebies against the Cardinals and the Raiders before the bye week. Come out of the bye week.
I love how we call them freebies. It's not.
I'm calling them freebies.
It's slightly realistic.
Well, I just think that like for Seattle in particular, you're talking about a rookie quarterback potentially playing against Mike McDonald's defense, and if not a rookie, Kirk Cousins at this stage of his career. You know what I mean? And then if you're looking at Arizona, it's either Jacoby Brissett or
Carson
worse rookie than the Raiders rookie. So yeah, I'm gonna call those freebies. Then they, you know, that Dallas game is going to be pivotal. It's at home. It's Monday Night Football. That game could be because I know you were talking about Dallas against the Rams. So in an indirect kind of way, Dallas could determine who wins this division. You know, like who's going to lose to Dallas, right? Then you got at Philly. I'm going to call that a loss. And then you get the Rams. And so if you could split with the Rams, beat Carolina, you know, I think Seattle, you know, could be an 11-6 type team. I picked them to go 10-7, but, you know, I wouldn't be surprised.
I got 12-5. I got Rams and I got the Rams at like 13. Granted, listen, that 13-4 is extra optimistic. Like I said, I'm just looking at, like I said, with the Rams, the week 5 matchup against Buffalo. I gotta see what Buffalo delivers. I know Josh Allen is an incredible talent, but if no one else really emerges, if DJ Moore doesn't really pop, and they got to rely on, hey, we got Josh and you don't, that those games end up being a lot of 23-20 games where Josh Allen throwing 52 passes. So if the Rams can either force Buffalo into that, I think they have a shot. So 12-5 Seattle. I got them 5-0 going into the Denver game. I got them losing to Denver. I got them beating Kansas City. I got the shocker, you know, Chicago.
Yeah, you love you some him, don't you?
The two, I don't know. I just got a feeling that I just have a feeling Chicago is really just gonna like really. I won't say surprise some people. I just have a feeling they're really just gonna go for it. I think they're gonna be must-see TV, and I think a 4th and 6 they're gonna throw a go route for a touchdown. I just feel like they're going to be the team that does the Madden stuff in real life. And that stuff, I think that stuff, we've seen it before. We've seen some of these teams that just ran up the score and they put, go back to the Falcons when they were I think they had the 6th or 7th most points in the NFL. It's like you're running out too much speed and size offensively to the point where it's how do you have 2 running backs that can catch the ball in the backfield and run up the middle? How do you have Julio Jones and Sanu that can catch the ball on the outside, but Julio and Tyler Gabriel both as fast? So it's I think that kind of thing just kind of discombobulates defenses. So I think Chicago's be one of those teams that's you know what? I know it's 4th and 2 from the 50, but I think this play action deep over route is where we're going to go. And I just think that's going to be a surprise game.
Hey, Jack, if you really believe that, you need to go get on FanDuel now before it's too late.
Oh, I think it's real. Because
no, I'm just saying, put the money down now. Don't wait until week 6 to do it.
Because his popularity it's just
I agree, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what do we got? I got the gimme. San Francisco, Dallas back to back. I think, like I said, I just think Dallas is going to surprise some people. They just always do. Just September to January, Dallas is just, for lack of a better word, just an amalgamation of surprises. That's the word I like this week. The Giants, I don't know if they're going to have their quarterback because he keeps going to that damn blue tent, even in preseason games. I think they win at Philly. I think they win at the Rams. Win home with the Rams. Carolina, I'm still up in the air, but until Bryce Young can throw the ball consistently for 300 yards a game, I don't know if they beat Seattle. But yeah, so I got 12-5 Seattle, 13-4 Rams, and I guess we got to talk about the Cardinals at some point.
We will quickly. I agree with you, Mike. I no disrespect taken. I agree with you. So the 49ers, right? So this is going to be tough. And I'm not talking injuries here. You know what I mean? Not only does San Francisco get the overseas game to start the season, they get another one. They go into Brazil and to Australia. You know what I mean? So I don't know about all these miles traveled, especially for a team like that. Maybe if you're San Francisco, that's a blessing because you don't have to play at home. But we'll see if George Kittle can go week 1. We brought that up. Bosa's been having some issues. Oh, Dak MVP, huh? Okay. So in addition to Mike Evans, Mr. Logical, they also brought in Christian Kirk. They went and got Debo back because, they needed another running back. Ha, 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 ha. But Christian McCaffrey actually survived the season last year, and that's what scares me because of the amount of touches that he got last year. You know what I mean? He's not built for that. And, outside of last year, a lot of his career, that's not the way that you handle him, but they were forced to, because they didn't have anything else. They traded Brian Robinson. Mason went to Minnesota, so he had to do a lot last year. Now you got Debo to spell him on some trick plays, line Debo up in the backfield. You got Kalen Black from the national champion Indiana Hoosiers in the backfield as well. But I know Rez is waiting for me to say the name DeJon Stribling. Out of Ole Miss, the rookie. Looking great during preseason. The catches that he's making, the toughness that he's bringing, he's doing everything that the 49ers are built to do or want to do, I should say. Now, I have questions about the defense, right? Because I talked about Robert Saleh being in Tennessee. So here we are. Another year, another defensive coordinator. I don't know how often you can do this, and who the defensive coordinator is, Mr. Logical.
Raheem Morris.
You know what I'm saying? Which is a good thing to Mike's point because if anybody knows the Rams, it's him.
Atlanta's defense looked good last year. I think Atlanta's defense I think the draft, they hit on the draft. They like to think about it, and as I think about it, with Xavier Watts, Walker, James Pierce Jr., they really crushed the draft at multiple, because I think Walker was more your guy that dropped in the coverage, and Pierce was your sole pass rush guy. Watts was just I think he had 5 interceptions. So whatever scheme they were running defensively in Atlanta was perfect. Long as Raheem realistically, like it's no shade. I just don't think he managed the game from a head coach point of view the way you needed to. There's so many opportunities over the last couple of years where we talk about the game against Washington, talk about the game against the Colts, which is ironic because Washington's your favorite team. The Colts is my dad's favorite team. He did the exact same thing where he didn't call a timeout to save time to ensure that his team got an opportunity to get points. But as far as the defensive mindset, because I know he was a defensive coach.
You getting your Falcon therapy out?
I'm saying this, a little venting. But when he went to San Francisco, they moved him to the offensive side of the ball, and Sean McVay said, hey, defense, so you should be able to implement offensive schemes that beat a defense. So I think it'll be fine. As long as you got a guy like Fred Warner on the floor, I'm thinking like floor general, like a point guard. As long as you have a guy like him in the middle that can direct people, not only can he direct people, he can actually wreck the other team's game plan. I think that's a solid piece. Unfortunately, I am not sold on the availability of all their top tier talent. That's the only trepidation when it comes to San Francisco 49ers. I'm not available. I'm not like fully sold on the availability of defensive or offensive stars on a week-to-week basis.
Mm-hmm. And that's for you, by the way.
You have QB and wide receivers. It's not about the QB and wide receivers. It's about they completed passes where the play ended in bounds. You need to call a timeout and save time so you get the kicker. Like, when it does happen, you still got to be prepared. That's all it means. Like, I just felt like a lot of times he just wasn't prepared. But being a defensive coordinator without the responsibility of managing that aspect, I think will be fine. I think people follow him well. I think he has like that Mike Tomlin kind of impact on players. It's just that sometimes you need somebody else to kind of manage the other aspects of coaching.
Yeah, so you got Fred Warner, coming back as well, so there's going to be obviously an adjustment period there. Not only that, but Michael Williams out for the year. So, we haven't even gotten through preseason, and the 49ers are suffering big losses like that. They went and got Dre Greenlaw back, so old familiar, but, the last time we saw him in a 49er uniform.
Yo.
Y por besito.
You talking about Mike, probably one of the saddest mic'd up moments. Because you remember, like, Fred put his hand, he's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would have won that game if he wasn't there because they had tapped his spot when he was out.
So
they got attacked that spot.
So they got Romello Height, from Texas Tech, who I like a lot. But he's probably just going to be a third down rusher for the most part this year. Bernardo Green in the secondary, my guy from FSU. I like him, but he's being pushed in camp right now. Upton Stout's looking good. They got the rookie with the best name of all time. I don't care what name you give me. I will raise you Ephesians Prysock. I expect him to get some playing time this year.
He's got
the 49ers.
He's got to get a nickname ASAP.
The 49ers as a team, I said, only had 6 interceptions as a whole last year. They also got Osa. All right, you're going to have to help me with this one, Mike. You're going to have to help me with this one, Mike. Osa Odigizua from the Cowboys.
Nigerian?
Who I think. Well, yeah, I think he is. He's a good player. that I think will help out the defense as well. So I think that they will be improved over last year, but they've been trying to find, safeties and that get that backside right ever since Hafunga's left.
Pause.
So yeah, they're trying to get that back right, dog. You know what I'm saying? But we do know. I mean, I feel like we do know. I don't know if it'll be week 1. But I feel comfortable every year saying that the 49ers are going to beat the Rams at some point. You know what I mean? And remember, to your point, Rez, last year, Mr. Logical, when we previewed the NFC West, that was one of the first questions we asked was, would you rather have the young defense or the young offense? So, the 49ers are still young in that regard. So another year, they had Robert Saleh. I have to imagine that he taught them something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Thanks. I tried it, man. You know what I mean? But with Raheem Morris, I wonder if it's just going to take a few weeks because of the difference in philosophy that they usually play with. They don't play the same schemes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not like
I think he connects with players. I think that's the thing. As long as the scheme
he don't connect with head coaching jobs. Oh, never mind.
Listen, it's not for everybody. Steve Spagnuolo has 4 rings as a coordinator. I think he has 4 wins as a head coach. So it's like it's not. I'm saying it's not for everybody.
If I remember correctly, he was 11-28, something like that.
You know what I'm saying? So he has 4 Super Bowl rings and 11 wins as a head coach. I gotta
look it up now.
He might go in the Hall of Fame as a Hall of Fame coordinator. Sometimes just like once again, you just have to be in the right spot. Like we have a show and
10-38.
10-38. It's 2 of us. You handle the part that you handle very well. I don't even try to invade in that space. I show up, I do my part, and that's how it works effectively. Long as you're not stepping on what Shanahan does and he can get these guys ready to go. The issue with good teams is that eventually you lose the talent that you cultivate because you're paying other players a lot of money. We talked about the Brock Purdy contract, Kittle's contract. Even I don't know what Ayuk's contract is, how it's really impacting the salary cap, but I imagine like just because they had that success for that stretch between the Jimmy Garoppolo Super Bowl and the Brock Purdy Super Bowl, you start to either pay a lot of players or you lose a lot of players. So it's just a matter of like how long can the core group of guys and this coach keep you in 10 wins? And it has to come, like you said, it has to come back to the mean. I got the 49ers at 9-8 because I think they're at the position in their trajectory that a 9-8 season is their best case scenario. Not any disrespect. I just feel like losing a guy, like I don't think they have like the depth you need. I don't think they get to keep the coaches because those coaches get hired on. So it's just at some point you have to do a reset. And with the injuries, I think it's going to hurt their win probability in a lot of these games week to week, where it's almost a coin toss.
Yeah, I got them 10-7. But I do have them with a rough start. Because they could easily end up 2-3. They really could. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say 3-2, but they could end up 2-3. They beat Washington. They go to Atlanta. I think they get that win. And then they get the Raiders. Cool. Then you get, after the bye week. So after the bye week, I wouldn't be surprised to see the 49ers at about 5-2 or 5-2 or so. Then you get the Raiders. You go to Dallas.
I also got 10-7.
Okay.
I also got. I had a line where it should have been a circle, which is Atlanta. I had a line through Atlanta.
Read your own handwriting, man. You wrote
it. Because I looked at it and knew it was going to be a loss for Atlanta, so I thought loss and put a line through in the schedule. And I just looked at them like, yeah, that's not happening.
So I think it's rough, right? I think it's rough, right? Because they get the Minnesota game, the overseas game, in between going to Dallas and playing Seattle. That's a tricky spot. You know what I mean? Like, Kyler Murray's been known to make a play or two against the 49ers. Then you got at the Giants, so you always got to be concerned about the Western teams. We talked about that going east.
What time
Rams
to start?
at Chargers. That one's at noon.
So 1 o'clock. Yeah. So it's the first.
Yeah.
Game. This
Or
is your
noon Central. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I know.
Yeah. Then at the Chargers, at the Chiefs, back to back, and then they go play Philly. I mean, it's at home, but so you go Rams at home, at Chargers, at Chiefs, Philly. That's a tough way to end your season. Obviously they play Arizona last, but that's a tough way to end that season.
Yeah, I'm always weary of the Chargers, even with the big arm quarterback that seems to pretty much play without any real public pressure. As far as like being kind of levied upon him from the outside with the pundits and everybody else, I think everyone kind of gives him a pass. Like I saw a clip the other day that said who, CJ Stroud's under the most pressure of any quarterback. I'm like, yo, he has a couple playoff wins. Like he has a couple playoff wins, and like this other guy who's out here getting his hair brushed by Madison Beer doesn't. But so like I'm always wary of, not necessarily wary of like the Chargers, but it's like I feel as if they have the pieces to win games. But then when you see it on the field, it's a lot of Josh Allen West, where it's him, Justin Herbert making these throws to guys because he has the arm talent to make it look like they're more open than they are. And maybe it works out. Maybe Quentin Johnson catches it. Maybe Lab McConkey catches it, or maybe he doesn't.
And I don't want to get too sidetracked here. I'm just going to make this one statement, but ain't nobody got no damn pressure until Josh Allen win a Super Bowl. That's the end of that. Then you got the Cardinals bringing up the rear. Pause.
Wait till Centers 2 come out. That's going to be some real pressure for Josh Allen when he brings David back.
So the Cardinals, Mr. Logical, pop quiz time. What is their win total? Their over-under?
They're over-under? Probably 4.5.
3.5.
Jesus, that gave more credit than they deserved.
3.5. So I say that to say this. The Cardinals could compete if they were in the NFC South.
No, they couldn't.
Yes, they could.
No, they couldn't. No, they
yes,
couldn't.
they could.
No, they couldn't.
Anyway, all right, Mr. Logical, last pop.
Maybe if there was an NFC East. No, second, I'm just hating.
Last pop quiz of the night. Do you know who the Cardinals offensive coordinator is?
It's probably somebody I dislike. Is it Adam Gase or somebody?
It is the one and only Nathaniel Hackett.
They don't want to win. We could go ahead and give them the award right now for most unserious NFL franchise. Then Cleveland. So Arizona, Cleveland, and we got to get a bronze medal to
the Jets.
The Jets try so hard though. The Jets are just a kid that just can't read the material, but he works so hard.
Don't you start with me, Mike. Don't you start with me.
The man had to hire another. The man had to hire a coach to help him coach when he was a head coach. Imagine if I had another person sitting here helping me with the little bit of notes I have here for my podcast. That's what he did, and he still messed it up. So you hired another guy to help you do a job you weren't qualified for, and the two of you couldn't figure it out.
Oh,
you talking about DEI? That's DEI right there.
So Mike, I'll ask you this real quick. Are you sure it was Hackett calling the plays, or was it actually Mike LaFleur? The new head coach. He was the offensive coordinator for the Rams, and for what that's worth too, because you got Sean McVay. So, there's that.
Oh yeah, a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, and he's the brother of Matt LaFleur.
Of Matt LaFleur, yeah. They kept their defensive coordinator Nick Rallis.
Nathaniel Hackett call plays for me.
They kept their defensive coordinator Nick Rallis. He's a fast burner. Like how you beat those dudes that make
Had a
master
cup
in
of
like 8
coffee.
years. You know what I'm saying? He's
Yeah.
one of these dudes. You know, he
Not me.
started out in Minnesota as an assistant linebacker coach, became the linebacker coach in Philly, you know, and then, you know, he's the youngest coordinator in the league. So, you know, we'll see how that works. But to
There's
your
no
point,
evidence to support that, Mike. That's
so
just hope.
so to your point, so Marvin Harrison Jr. or Harvin Marison Jr.
Madison Jr.
is one of these people, right, that what he's done so far would be all right if he didn't get picked where he got picked and, you know, with the hype that he had. Like, he hasn't been just awful. You know, he just hasn't been this is year 3, I believe. He just hasn't been a superstar.
1,400. He has like 1,400 yards. I don't think that's.
But you also got to remember what's been going on. You know, Kyler Murray's been hurt after the fact that, you know, Kyler Murray said it wasn't his job to get him the ball. You know what I mean? You know, then you had what? You had Brissett last year, and then you had Clayton Tune at times as the quarterback for the Cardinals. You know what I mean? So, like, it hasn't been all gravy there. James Conner's been hurt, so no running game to speak of a lot of the times.
Yeah, but yes, and at 6'3",
he had 130 yards in a quarter against the Rams.
Okay, so he had 130 yards in one quarter against the Rams.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one quarter of the 29 games he's played. 130 yards. How many more yards did he have in the other 16 quarters?
Hey,
1,300.
about 1,200, about 12 something. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So he had 130 yards,
though. Like,
and
you know,
he had
like
1,493 in 29 games.
So look, this is the thing, right? When we look through NFL history, right? You have a guy like Tom Brady who didn't always have the best receivers because he's fucking Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? But Sam Darnold, you know, Mark Sanchez, they need those receivers. So like you got guys like Andre Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins who probably didn't need, you know, a great quarterback to get them the ball. They still had great seasons. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But Marvin Harrison, just because he's
Hopkins
not them,
had 1,000 yards with TJ Yates as his quarterback.
But that's what I'm saying. Some dudes are just that. Like Marvin Harrison may not be that, but I don't think he's say worse than a top 30 receiver.
Here we go. We can divorce ourselves from the numbers as far as the total yards. The thing we should look at is, are you involved? Are you making plays when plays are opportune? So we go.
Well, no, because Michael Wilson doing that. Shout out to my namesake.
1 target, 0 receptions. That's one game. 3 targets, 1 reception. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 69 yards. Game against Seattle. 12 targets, 3 catches for 33 yards. And yet, maybe some of those targets shouldn't have been thrown at him. But let's say 5 of them, maybe 5 of them shouldn't even been thrown in his direction. You can't give me 7 out of 12 catches. Another thing, 7 out of 10, 2 out of 6, 2 out of 2. He had 2 targets and 2 catches against Indy.
All right, so now hold on there for a second. As a wide receiver, is it my job to get myself the ball?
It's your job. It's your job to get open. And if you get 12
but the quarterback also has to have protection to be able to get the throw off.
I'll give you 5. I'll give you 5 bad passes out of 12. You should win 7 out of 12 times, right? You can't go 3 out of 12. And like I said, I understand
people have bad games.
But that's the thing. That was a staple of his
season. We saw Kobe go 6 for 24 in a game 7. It happens.
Yeah, but he also grabbed 15 rebounds because
he did. But I'm just saying. But it happens.
It happens. I'm not going to take one game and just extrapolate that across his whole career. But if you look at the totality of what he's done, at the connected to the opportunities, the physical gifts, and the expectations, the game plan is geared towards getting you the ball.
That
If
ain't
it
what
was
Kyler
like-
Murray said, bro.
Well, Kyler Murray is in Minnesota now because he didn't understand that, so I understand that piece. But like Zachariah Branch, okay, you got Luke McCaffrey in Washington, right?
Yes.
If he doesn't have 1,400 yards over 2 seasons, you're not bothered because the game plan going into the week, the Tuesday install, doesn't have him as a primary guy as to impact the other team's defense. He is. So if you're on my team and the goal is to, and the plan, like just the plan from drafting you, from your present, from just being there, is to get you the ball, then you in turn have to put yourself in a position of where you are open. You run your routes properly. You do the things to get open because I'm trying to get you the ball.
So look, I understand exactly what you're saying and what you're trying to say. My thing is, in the NFL, there's only so much space. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just running free like Tebow's receivers were at Florida. You know what I mean? Quarterbacks have to make tight, timely throws, and that's why, the quarterbacks move around and get shuffled the way that they do. Because if you can't make this throw in this window, you ain't leading us nowhere. You know what I mean? I'm not saying if your point is, yo, he should have 3 yards on somebody. That don't exist unless that's very few. That's very few.
No, not. I'm not saying he should have 3 yards. I'm saying that the game plan is designed. The passing game is designed to get you the ball or Trey McBride, which are two basically different passing concepts. In that structure, if Trey McBride can get 100 catches, no matter, he's getting double and he's racking up catches every single week for 2 years. If he still can get 100, knowing that he is essentially the default primary target, then you as the number
is
one
Trey
wide
McBride
receivers,
getting guarded by Quinyon Mitchell? Is he getting guarded by Sauce Gardner? Is he getting guarded by Patrick Surtain?
But if he's getting 100 catches at tight end, he's getting 100 catches at tight end. So if I know you're not even doing it, like if he's getting 100 catches at tight end, let's say you're not getting the best defense overall, Marvin Harrison should be getting more catches, considering that if I'm a defensive coordinator, let's go Arizona week 8 against Dallas. If you are week 8 in and you got 32 catches as a wide receiver and the tight end has 50, defensive coordinator, like, yo, let's bracket the tight end, because obviously the number one guy, corners are good, but they can get beat. But you gotta beat him as the number one guy. I just feel like you should be able to get off more. Like the second string running back shouldn't average 4.8 yards a carry, and the starting running back average 3.2 behind the same O-line.
But that happens all the time. Mason from San Francisco averaged 4.8 just a few years ago as the number 2. You know what I mean? It happens. You know what I'm saying?
But those people, McCaffrey had 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah, but he still had 4 point. No, that wasn't that year. He was out that year. McCaffrey was out that year.
Yeah, but
because they had Garendo, they had another running back that's escaped me, Patrick Taylor, and somebody else.
You think if San Francisco is running a stretch play and the backup guy is getting 4.8, you think McCaffrey's not getting, like, granted, 4.8 is a lot. If the backup guy is getting 4, McCaffrey's getting 4.2 or 4.3. Like, McCaffrey's not going out there to give you 2.8. Marvin Harrison's giving you less production from a vantage point where, like, it's geared towards getting him the ball. He's just not open. Because the other guys are catching the ball. Like, they're obviously throwing it a lot because you got a tight end that has over 100 catches. So they're throwing the ball a lot.
So just for the record, McCaffrey has had seasons that he's averaged 3.7, 3.8, 3.9 last year, 4.0 the year before that. It happens. You know what I'm saying? McCaffrey's value is
production.
McCaffrey's value is out of the, in the receiving game. That's where he makes his bread and butter.
But if you're a wide receiver,
Like,
you can't make an impact anywhere else, then you have to really lock in and specialize your like my only piece is towards getting him the ball. And it's not. If that's the only thing you're doing, but that's you think they go into the game. It's not. You think the install doesn't have him as the primary guy?
I think that Kyler Murray made it known that he will do what he wants to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then the other times they were playing with Clayton Tune. You know what I'm saying? Jacoby Brissett. Yes. It is what it is, man. I'm not like, first of all, before and this is another one of those moments, right? This is another one of those moments. Welcome to Sports Reports Disorder, y'all. It's the thing about it is that it's not that I'm making the argument that he is a great receiver or that anything like that. I just think that like I said about the quarterbacks, like some quarterbacks, Peyton Manning can function with an Austin Collie. You know what I'm saying? That he can make that work. Trevor Lawrence can't. You know what I mean? Like some receivers, like Andre Johnson, can make Tom Savage. He can make Savage work. You know what I'm saying? Like Harvin can't. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. But anyway, let's get through this.
I think we're talking about the same side of the coin. I think we kind of got.
No, I think we are. I just think we're. Yeah. But the Cardinals also have Kendrick Bourne, my guy, because he got my name, Michael Wilson. You know what I'm saying? Hit 1,000 yards for the first time last year, to Mr. Logical's point. This is year 4 for him, 169 targets and 1 drop, to Mr. Logical's point. Jeremiah Love, the rookie coming in this year. We're going to see how much of, a running share there is.
Rosenfeld.
I know. I was actually going to pull Patrick Ramsey out, but I stopped myself. I
think Case Keenum doing some passes too.
That's hilarious. You taking disrespect Kyler Murray too far, Mr. Logical.
I never said I said that it was a problem. I just said. Like I said, I think we're having the same conversation. But this is another thing with Arizona that I think they're in the Arch Manning race. I'm not sure the allegiance to Geno that the Jets have. So if they're in that same space, that's top. But if you're Arizona, if you could move the number 1 pick and get a haul, and then say a team that likes to throw the ball a lot, who feels like a 6'3", 230-pound Ohio State wide receiver is a piece, I think you still could move. Marvin Harrison. I think they could move him in season. I think it would be smart to move him in season because if
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, I think if you look at some teams that maybe the Raiders look at a team with a young quarterback that needs a big target, or a team with a quarterback that is, contingent. His legacy is contingent on the availability of a big wide receiver. I think the Chargers, if they have the money and the space, they could be at play. I think Houston, with their guy going down, I think they could be at play. I think give me Green Bay. I think Green Bay, with their lack of just real size at the wide receiver position, could be at play. I always think Baltimore can be at.
Yeah, I was about to say, here's an idea. Let's get Lamar a receiver.
So if I'm Arizona, I'm looking at this year like, how do I get the best plan in place? You say you got Mike LaFleur as a head coach now.
Yeah, Mike LaFleur is head coach. Nathaniel. Oh, look at that Super Bowl pick.
Man, go ahead, bet money on that. You can buy a new house. So if I'm the Cardinals, all the discombobulation you have, you got to be smart. You put guys in place that are truly going to play hard for next year. If I got any guy on a contract or a guy that's looking for a contract or a guy just signed a contract, just go ahead and offload that. Just take it down to brass tacks and say, hey, Marvin Harrison's up. What you got, Baltimore? What you want to give us? Hey, Tyler Algier, I know we just signed him. What do we got? Because you're setting yourself up next year to either be in the like I said, the Arch Manning piece, but you want guys that are playing for a spot. You don't want guys that are going to have tight hamstrings looking for a new spot. Just go ahead and move them before October.
Hey, that might just happen. But real quick, on the other side of the ball, I like Darius Robinson and Walter Nolan. I liked Walter Nolan when he got drafted, but he's missed games. Like between the two of them, they've played 27 games in the last 2 seasons. They lost Calais Campbell, so he had 6.5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss last year. Buda Baker's still there. He's one of those guys that I like to say,
move him.
Everybody knows he's a great player, but you can't talk about him because of where he plays.
Move him.
In the secondary, my guy Will Johnson had an up and down rookie year. We'll see how he bounces back this year. And then you got Denzel Burke out of Ohio State, so we'll see how that goes. But looking at the schedule, Mr. Logical, looking at the schedule here, we got what?
2-15.
At Chargers. At Chargers.
I'm not even going to go through the whole thing.
You're not going to go through the whole thing. I got them. No. I'm taking
Jets,
the over.
Raiders.
I'm taking the over. I got them at 4-13. I got them at 4-13.
I got Jets, Raiders, 15 and weeks 15 and 17. I'm gonna say I got their best chance.
I'm taking the Cardinals to beat the Giants.
That's their best chance. The problem is at the Giants.
I think they're gonna win. Yeah, they're gonna win that. They're gonna beat Washington.
I think Harbaugh can game plan for Jacoby Brissett not throwing the
Actually,
ball
you know what?
downfield.
You know what? 5-12.
Man, what's in your cup?
5-12. Give me the over. Give me the over.
Promethazine.
I got them. They're gonna beat the. I got them beating the Giants. I got them beating Washington. I got them beating the Jets. I got them beating the Raiders.
Unless Jeremiah Love returns 3 kickoff and touchdowns.
And Dallas Mike knows this way too well. The Cardinals are going to beat the Cowboys too. He know the Cardinals got their number. Couldn't make that up if I tried. And believe me, I would have loved to try. But, hey, we will be back on Tuesday. It's time to go over to the AFC side of things, the AFC East in particular. We're going to talk about these Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl runner-ups. We're going to talk about the Jetropolitans. And we're going to talk about the Dolphins, who I get annoyed every time somebody on ESPN calls them the fish.
Yeah.
But he is the world-famous, world-renowned, cool, calm, and collected. Born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? He's been known to be a Yankee fan. I don't know how that plays in Jersey, but yeah. He is Mr. Logical. Down here in the Alamo, going left so much you thought I was Southpaw. I am 2-5. Start ducking Ryan Garcia. We love y'all. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. The Doors are going to win games. You know what I'm saying? Doors going 8-9. You know what I'm saying? Like, review, subscribe, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. Check us out wherever you get your podcast. Check out Say Less, Say More. One Mic Podcast is on the comeback. Holla back. See you in a few days. Love. Sports Reports is ordered. Out.
Sports Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5.